I'm going to start with Monica, and we'll go down. Introduce yourselves, name, title, company, years in tech.
Got it. Hi, my name is Monica Kumar with Oracle for 22 years, in the industry 26 years. I'm Vice President of Oracle Cloud Platform, including the Oracle Database, which is our flagship product at Oracle.
Great. Hi, I'm Carrie Francey, and I'm a Vice President at Information Builders, which is a BI and analytics company. And I'm also one of the co-founders of Women in Cloud, and I've been in the tech industry for 20 plus years.
Hi, I'm Becky Washam. I'm president and co-founder of Opsagility. We're a skills transformation company, and I've been in the tech industry for 10 plus years.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Protexter, and I work at Insight. We're a global Fortune 500 IT solutions company systems integrator, and I lead the marketing efforts for North America. And I'm the newbie. I think I've only been in tech 5 years. I was in healthcare for most of my career prior to joining Insight.
I'm Margaret Dawson, Vice President of Portfolio Product Marketing at Red Hat. We're a software company that uses a complete open source development model, and we were recently acquired by IBM for $34 billion, which is crazy. And I've been in the tech industry, I'm just gonna go with that, over 20 years also, even though I feel like I've been saying that for 20 years, but let's go with it.
I'm going to say for 20 years too, but that's a lie. It's been longer. So we have a lot of people with experience here. I have a couple of questions, and then I want to turn it over to you people for questions so you can take advantage of these people's experience. So we've all been in the business of tech for many years. What I would like to know is if and how you see the situation for women in tech different in the last few years than in the previous 15. And if you don't see it different, that's fine too. Just go for it.
Do you want me to start here?
Go ahead.
Sure. I love the fact that there's a huge spotlight on the fact that the change needs to happen, right? That we need more women. I think in reality, though, it's really slow. From what I see, I'd love to see many, 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 many more women, not just in technology field, but also in leadership. And I think we still have a long ways to go. So one of the things that we do at Oracle, or at least I do in my capacity, is to look at action, because I think real change only comes from action. We can talk about it, which is great, but what are we doing as women in leadership positions to actually create change? So I'm very keenly looking at how we promote people, how we mentor, encourage, people to the next level of leadership positions, but also how we recruit and hire people. And how do we put people on stage for speaking opportunities? I'm very, very, very maniacal about looking at speaking rosters and saying, wait a second, why do we have all 10 men who look the same? And nothing against men, I love men. I have a son, my husband, my brother, my dad. I get it. But I think we just need to expand the pool. So I think there's certain things we can all do, and that's what we try to do. At least I try to do that.
Yeah, I think there is a tremendous opportunity for women, and I'll talk specifically about the cloud too. When you look at the business today, there's 40% of all businesses that are starting up are women-based businesses. But the problem is that only 2% of all of those businesses have women leveraging cloud technology. So I think that there's a tremendous opportunity to really expand that footprint in this cloud era. I was talking to a friend who actually runs a consulting business, and she was talking specifically about that and about the opportunities that she has and the opportunities that have changed for her over the last number of years. So I think with cloud, I think there's a new set of opportunities that can be brought to the table, and I think people need to recognize it and be aware of it and understand it.
I 100% agree with you, Carrie, in regards to the opportunities in cloud, because, as we all know, the cloud brings so many things that you couldn't do 10 years ago in regards to economies of scale. So startups now, they can go in there and do so many more things with the technology that's offered in cloud than you could 10 years ago in regard, because you don't have to invest in all the infrastructure, everything is there for you. And there's so many capabilities as far as how creative you can get with the cloud. And women were generally very creative thinkers. And so the cloud opens up, I believe, a lot more opportunities than what there was 10 years ago.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, I think part of it too is it's just you need to make sure that we have the right tools and programs in place, and I think that's what's missing today.
Right.
I think we're starting to see that, but we need to see more and more of that.
I agree.
I would agree. I think the biggest change has been awareness, and and people talking about it, and awareness is always kind of the first step. I think it's now what are the actions, and there's lots of different levels that there can be action. It can be what can you do individually, what kind of tone do you set within your company? Are you, is there a program for women, mentorship and sponsorship in your company? Are you involved in your community? I mean, just hearing this morning was so inspirational about getting policymakers involved and starting to set things through policy. So I do think we're making headway, at least. I mean, nobody was really talking about it 10 years ago. We're at least, there's a lot of conversation around it. It's now, how do we turn that into some pronounced action? And events like this, work with the legislature, work within your own companies. Those are all things that we can do to continue to move this forward.
I'm wondering if you're in a position to hire people, when you see candidates, I'm wondering if the pipeline has changed in the last couple of years. Are you seeing more women coming into the pool, or is it kind of static? Margaret, you said.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about this all the time, the pipeline issue. It hasn't changed. The only time it actually changes is when you are so intentional of filling the pipeline. And so this goes back to, it's not going to magically happen. And I think I have this argument with our president all the time, where it doesn't just happen that all of a sudden we're going to have a funnel full of women candidates. You really have to intentionally look at it, and you can make a difference in that way. The greatest example we have is our GM of all of Canada came in a few years ago, and he had, I think, one woman in all of sales, and he said within the next 18 months we will have 50% women in Canadian sales, and they did it. And so when you talk about, don't put a metric on it, or you can't, just put a number on it and expect it to happen, you can drive change, but it means everyone's actually trying to do that. And they didn't hire women just for the sake of hiring women. They just changed the numbers and the amount of people that happen to be women and diverse candidates in the pool. And so we all have to use our networks if we're actually going to change it. It's not naturally changing. In fact, and sometimes it's getting worse. But I think if we all use your network and say, I have 5 candidates, and get them to apply, that's when it's going to really change.
I have noticed though, and you're absolutely right, you have to work with your HR counterpart to source the right diverse set of resumes. But I have noticed though, in product marketing and product management, at least in the Silicon Valley, I see a lot more women out there. Like when you go on LinkedIn, I didn't see them, let's say, up 5 years ago. So to me, that's a positive change that I see actually women are, like we talked about expanding what the tech job means. It's not just coding, right? Product marketing, product management are very technical jobs if you're working for a technology company. And so I do see a lot more women, actually, candidates coming to us when I'm sourcing for those positions. So I see that as a positive change.
I think an interesting question, though, is we're seeing the change in sales, product management, marketing, biz dev, but are we seeing that change in the technical roles?
You mean hard coding? Is that what you mean?
Coding, yeah.
Software engineering,
software
that kind of
engineering roles.
In my opinion, and again, I work very closely with our development teams. I think it's very slow.
Yeah,
it's very, very slow. I see them few and far in between, and we have a little community of women members who kind of commiserate about this. But I wish it was faster. It's not as fast as we'd like to see.
Is it the kind of thing that if you're a woman in technology and cloud, you're a hot item, you're going to get recruited, and it's the same people getting hired all the time?
Oh, yeah.
And okay.
I mean, I think probably everyone in this room could go take a job every day. I mean, it's just once you reach that point and you're known as a technical woman and successful, the recruiters, have you on speed dial. So
they have to get more creative. And, this is a football analogy, so I might lose some people here, but there's a thing called the Rooney Rule in football to address inequality in the coaching staffs. And the Rooney Rule is that if there's a head coaching job in the NFL that becomes available, a team has to interview one minority candidate. It has not done much. There's another famous event in the last couple of weeks at the Golden Globes. Regina King, wonderful actress, gets up on stage to accept her award for Beale Street. And she says, going forward, when I produce something, 50% of the people behind the camera will be women. And she got a huge round of applause. I am wondering if something like that is necessary or possible in tech. I don't know.
I think some of it is there's a better opportunity if people are willing to take a risk and take a different role within the company they're in. That's where I see the greatest change, where either through training or development, or even if it's first jumping to product management, and then, if you want to go into engineering, that's a little bit easier with program management. And so I think that we all need to look at women in our businesses today, in our companies today, and you might have to push them to take a risk, because one of the things I see is, and we've talked about, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, where if there's a job, women think they have to be like 90% of the qualifications, and men, if it's 25%, they're like, oh yeah, I could totally do that other. So we need to push, if you have a woman, and I do this all the time, it's like, say, you can do this. And if they say, well, I only can do, 50%, it's like, yeah, but why would you want to take a new job if you could do 100%? Right?
You want to grow.
Yeah, you want to grow. And so I think that that's going to take all of us doing that, because that's when real change happens.
And I think we need to be impatient, right? I mean, to me, it's just too slow. Why is it so slow, the change? I think we all need to start getting more impatient about this and do something more aggressive about this. To me, that's really bothersome. Of course, it's possible, right? There should be equality and fairness. And why isn't there? And why are we okay with it not being there? So let's do something more aggressive about it. I think each of us can make a difference. You don't have to have a VP title to do that, honestly speaking. Even individual contributors can actually make a difference and create more diversity in their organizations and the communities.
Well, they've done a good job of that in California. So now they're saying in California they want to have at least one woman on every public board.
Yeah.
So, I think that's where change will happen, when people start to make those bold statements in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So having what you just said, and then we're going to turn to questions if Wendy or someone wants to do a mic. But first, given what we've just said, I would love each of you to say two pieces of advice you'd give a candidate coming in, whether it's like get a computer science degree or speak up in meetings. Just two lessons for each of you, if that would be great.
I can start. I would say a couple things. Have a mentor, be a mentor. I've learned as much being a mentor as having a mentor, and I think, I think that's another way to start sponsorship and advocacy for women within your organization or outside, right? So that's one. I think the other one is, don't demand the respect, earn the respect. Do the work. I think it's maybe not fair, but women do have to work 25 or 50% harder sometimes. And, I think we're just in that phase right now where we just got to do the work. We have to earn respect and keep pushing forward. I think sometimes if you demand respect, you're seen as like, that, kind of crazy demanding woman. So earn the respect, do the work. That's the other one I would have.
I'll say two things. I know we've all talked about we all have a point of view. We are passionate, hardworking. Yeah, those are table stakes. We all do it. But I think more and more our success depends on how we engage people, how we work with other people, how we work in communities, how we lead, how we inspire. So I think it's really important that we focus on those skills as well in order for us to rise and become in those leadership positions, whether it's through a title or whether through virtual team lead, right? So are you a giver or a taker? Are you always trying to take from people and then that becomes your brand, right? Or are you actually giving back to them without expecting anything in return? So to me, as a leader, I think that's something I've really learned over the years. You have to focus on people. You have to focus on people that you're working with. You have to be compassionate, kind. You have to be a giver on most occasions. Yes, sometimes you have to be fierce and take things and say, I need it done. But mostly, I think that's one thing. My second point, which, come on, as women, we have so many superpowers like negotiation, right? I mean, those of you who are moms know that we negotiate with kids every day. So why can't we negotiate about our own salary and positions and titles? I don't get it. So that's my other advice is please come on, use those powers at work. Bring your real self to work. Don't just leave it home and be something else at work, right? Those would be my two pieces of advice.
Well, one thing I would say is continuous learning. I mean, my first point is there's so many avenues out there to grow, and everybody's talking about growth mindset. But be sure to invest in yourself. I think women are really good at that, but continue. And then after you have the knowledge, don't be afraid to speak up. That's my second point. It's very important to be your own advocate. A lot of women in our industry are hard workers, and I think eventually that's going to get noticed. But unfortunately, karma doesn't always work, in business, and as much as I would like it to. So you can't be afraid to speak up. That kind of ties in with what Gabriella was saying, but I'm such a firm believer in that. That your number one advocate is always going to be yourself, and if you have that knowledge behind you, then there's nothing to be afraid of. Don't be afraid.
I'll just add to the points that the folks have made here, because I think a lot of them are similar to what I would have said. But I think one of the big things is don't be a perfectionist. You don't have to be perfect in everything. To Margaret's point earlier, you don't have to know the job 100%
Ship an MVP.
to get that job. Just go and do it, and you'll learn along the way. And people are patient and recognize that no one in this world is perfect.
Right.
And then I think the second thing is come to events like this, be part of a community, network with others, and you'll learn. And that goes back to your point about continuous learning. So those would be my two adds.
So I agree with all that. The two I would add is kind of building on what I said before is be willing to jump off, take that risk. For a lot of people, that might mean, going to a startup. And that changes your title or changes your scope of work, learn new things. I love the curiosity all the time. And I think the second one would be intentionally supporting other women. So, the one thing we can do is helping that other person ask for it, or, whatever it is that people need. I think too often we're afraid to be intentional because it will look like we're being biased, and I think my answer is then be biased. And for men and women, frankly, I've had just as many men who I've had to do that for, so I want to be careful with that. But those would be my two.
So help a sister out. Okay, Wendy, do we have questions? If not, I've got more, but we probably have time for maybe two.
Yep, we've got a question right here.
Hi, I have a question regarding what Margaret was saying, that there is a pipeline issue today. So especially in the engineering aspects of hiring. So when my experience with hiring is when I used to I was a manager in my previous role, put out a job description, I would get hundreds of applications, maybe 2 women.
Yeah.
And that's it. What is your advice of sourcing or for engineering roles? How do you source for technical women, and what are the avenues you look at so that we are looking at the right candidate, we put it out there so that we have a better pipeline to choose from?
I'll start. So there's a few things. One is look at your job descriptions. If you can be a remote role, you will get a lot more applicants that may be more diverse. So that's one thing I noticed, that if we always said it had to be at headquarters and they're engineering, first of all, personality-wise, engineers would rather be remote half the time anyway, but for women, it sometimes means they can work from home, they can have more flexible work. So that's one thing. Really look at your job descriptions, and when it goes out there, are you communicating the flexibility? Are you using language that, just encourages people of diverse backgrounds to apply? That's one. Two is, like I said, you have to use your network. I have never found it to work to rely solely on HR. Yeah. They aren't out there pounding the pavement. So it's just going to take very intentional work with your male and female colleagues saying, hey, we're really trying to get a diverse candidate pool. Please, reach this out to your network, and, reach out to other recruiters that you've just got to do a lot more, feet on the street, unfortunately, but it does work. And I would also say, going back to what I said before, don't underestimate that you may have people internally that just don't see themselves. And if you've got any kind of internal training, if you can, we have a lot of even Java coding or whatever, just helping people move towards that more technical role capability internally starts to change the pipeline, that changes the network. Reach out to, girls who code, Black girls who code. There's organizations, but you've got to just do a lot more work. I wish there was a better answer, but that's the only thing I've seen to work.
I would add one more thing that's working for us somewhat is interns, right? So create the pipeline, work with colleges, and start getting interns that you can mentor and coach, and you can convince them and motivate them to actually become full-time employees as they graduate. So that's another way to actually increase the number of...
That's a great point, Monica. That's a great point. Work with universities as well.
That's
with that.
right, yeah.
Love that.
Okay, Barb, I have Yvette from Chick Tech. We got a Chick Tech table right here and a bunch of young women here. Chick Tech is a nonprofit that helps women get interested in technology. So, Yvette.
Thank you. Thank you so much for paneling. It's been really amazing listening to all of you. And and your perspective and everything. So just the last question mentioned it, and Monica, you just mentioned it as well as far as the pipeline and the importance of developing a pipeline. And my question is, what is each one of your companies doing to actually invest in that pipeline? Because it isn't just, putting out a job post on like a women in tech, job posting app or anything. It's starting with youth, right? I have 3 of my high school students here. It's starting with them. It's starting with even younger. K through 8, high school. You mentioned internships. Like what exactly or how exactly are your companies investing in that? Because I'd say
I can take it from an oracle. You want to start? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we have a couple really interesting programs that kind of reach into engineering areas, but even into other kind of technology areas. Like, again, I lead marketing. Marketing is a technology function today. There's a lot of technology involved in marketing strategy. So our company has a philanthropic focus of helping children with technology through donations and support of our different teammates in our company, going and helping at Boys and Girls Clubs and getting people interested in the technology field. The other thing we have for a little kind of later stage pipeline is we do a lot of internships, but we have a special 360 internship program every summer. You can go to insight.com and look up if you're interested in an internship and that's something you'd like to try. The internship gives you practical experience in departments, but there's also an entire track around things like interpersonal skills and resume building for when you graduate, and team building, and how do you drive collaboration within a team that you're part of. So soft skills plus technical skills. So I think those are 2 things I would say that we've invested as a company in making sure we're doing what we can to build that pipeline.
From an Oracle perspective, we have a huge number of programs. I'll just list them. Internship programs, very robust. Every year starting in November or October, we start collecting resumes, and then we place them all across the company, including development divisions as well as marketing and so on. We actually have a school on campus. It's a design thinking school. So for the first time, I think any company actually has a high school on campus. And we are starting right from that level, building those, resources into technical, resources that they can be part of our company and that talent pool. We also have individuals like myself in the company. I'm on the board of an organization called Watermark. It's the Bay Area's largest subscriber membership organization that actually is supporting the increase in number of women in leadership positions. We have a ton of other programs, and I know we are out of time, so I'll give the other ladies a chance to kind of add to what they want to say. But Oracle is hugely investing into creating the pipeline.
One thing I just want to say really quickly is, because I'm with a small startup company, my company, Opsagility, we're a company of 30 people, and then we work with a large organization out there of contractors, but I'm a testament to what we're doing, because I am the co-founder of my company, and what we're striving on, we have gender parity in our leadership, which we're very proud of, but we're striving to shine a spotlight on our women leaders, because I think that's really important, and that's one of the things I believe about this initiative, Women in Cloud, is if you shine that spotlight on the women leaders out there, then it's going to reach out to, like, my 7-year-old daughter. Mom's a badass, because I'm up here, she's very proud of me. And I think that just making that awareness that for women of all ages and young girls, that you can do it, you can succeed in technology, is something that we all need to strive for.
And I'll just add one point. Sorry, I'm just going to say, so from Red Hat, because of our open source kind of development model and passion about that, we do a lot trying to get more women involved in open source communities. Yeah. And that goes all the way down into literally elementary schools and programs to provide open source, because there's so much opportunity to use technology for free. And so getting more people to touch it, feel it, from a very early age, but then we also have these huge Women in Open Source Awards. So that, in addition to everything everyone said, that would kind of be the one thing we're doing that I think is trying to get to that pipeline issue, that source issue, and really embrace women in technology early.
Yeah. I would encourage folks that there are a lot of sponsors out there in the halls that have booths, And a lot of those folks do have internship programs. So I would encourage you during breaks and so forth to go and have conversations with them and just better understand what they have available.
Thank you very much, everybody. You guys are great.
All right, let's hear it for the panel.